sign a not a demand note, but a fixed date note. In other words, I'll lend you $1,000 today. You give me back $1,000 tomorrow. Conventionally, I would give you $1,000 bills, and a year from today, you would give me $1,000 bills. And let's say, pardon me, that's transaction one. And if there's 10% inflation, I'm using these numbers just because they're round numbers, there's 10% inflation. You say, boy, that's terrific because I owe her $1,000, but we know a year from now that it's been a year, that's really only worth $90. So in a sense, I, the borrower, had $1,000 to use to buy a used car that cost $1,000, and I'm paying back $900, right?
I don't get that. Say that again.
Well, I lend you $1,000 today.
Oh, I get what you said. I get what you said.
$1,000 and you buy a used car.
Okay, I get
right?
it.
You got $1,000 worth of value today. A year from now, you pay me back $1,000 bills, $1,000.
Right. You mean your purchasing power is only worth $900?
You've repaid 90%. I've got $900 worth of purchasing power.
Right.
Correct?
Right, but most people don't think of it that way, but that's correct.
Let me go on, and let's not worry about other people for the moment. Okay? If instead I give you either the $100 or the $1,000, or I give you, let's say gold is it $1,000, I give you an ounce of gold. I say, do what you want. You get your car, give it to the dealer, take it to the bank, take it to Gold, Silver Inc. or something, get the dollars to give to the used car dealer. I don't care. But a year from now, I want that ounce of gold back. You say, well, I don't know. I go to the store and get the gold. It's a pain in the neck. I'll tell you what. I'll give you dollars, but I'll give you as many dollars it takes in a year as it takes to buy an ounce of gold. Right?
Okay.
And I'm completely protected against any diminution of purchasing power. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah. It's as simple as that. I mean, I don't care whether you're dealing with $100 or $1,000 or $1 trillion. The principle is identical. If I want to protect, as a lender, if I want to protect the purchasing power of my money, it's got to be measured in something objective. And we don't have to go into the litany of why gold is good, because there's not a lot of it, and it's interchangeable, and everybody likes it and whatnot. If I want to protect my purchasing power, I've got to have it indexed against something that will protect its purchasing power, which in this environment is gold and, by the way, silver as well.
Yes.
It's that simple.
So why aren't more of us doing metals contracts when we're doing business?
Well, I don't know who you mean by us, but you said it a few minutes ago. People don't know, people don't care, people don't know who to talk to, they don't know where to go.
In my discussion with Edwin Vieira, he said that a lot of the attorneys, the accountants, the influencers around people that are doing business, it's foreign to them.
Absolutely.
And
that's probably why he wrote the book.
So it's about getting access to the doability of this.
Yeah, but remember what I said, and that is that a lot of apparent creditors are also, in a different sense, but a real sense, themselves debtors. And in my book, my original book on the gold clause, I mention that a lot of them are debtors themselves, and they don't want to be on the hook for having to pay more. I mean, let's say for the sake of argument in my example that today gold's $1,000 an ounce, and we provide that when you pay me back, I want an ounce of gold. Forget the paper, and all of that. I want you come by with an ingot and give me $1,000, give me an ounce of gold back. Well, by then it could be $2,500.
Correct.
So you have to go out now, right? Having gotten $1,000 and spent it on his used car, you have to go out and fork up $2,500 bills to get from a dealer an ounce of gold to put it on my desk.
So that's why you need a unit of measure.
Yes, certainly.
And that was my concern with the reserve currency. If it goes away, then whatever it is that's going to be the reserve currency will be the thing we measure against the metals.
Yes. And you say reserve currency. I'm not so sure it'll be, or ought to be currency.
Well, no, I'm just saying we call the U.S.
No,
dollar the reserve currency.
We go back to the gold standard. What the gold standard meant, and this is really pretty simple. If you go back to the gold standard, what we're talking about here is that for all the paper money that the government had out, in effect, issued, that was circulating.
M3.
Yeah, there was gold. Albeit, I think, at a fixed price, but put that aside for the moment. But presumably somebody could collect all the paper money there was in the country, say, and take it someplace. And for each dollar, there would be $1's worth of gold. Right?
Okay.
That's what redeemable meant. That's what the gold standard meant.
So what you're talking about is dollar for dollar.
Well, $1 for gold, $1
right,
for
I mean
ounce.
that.
Yeah, $1 for ounce. That's why they had to cut loose from the gold standard. The gold standard is what kept the printers honest. I mean, if Bernanke had to have an ounce of gold or whatever for every piece of paper he printed, he couldn't do that.
I have a wild question. Is the Federal Reserve, which is private, unconstitutional?
Well, I'm not so sure it's private. And the reason I'm not so sure it's private, I mean, as you know, this is a whole other discussion, but I'm not sure it's private because it was created by the government, essentially in a government statute. So I'm not so sure, and it's, of course, the chairman is appointed by the president, and, you know.
I have a video of Alan Greenspan telling a newscaster that they're private and they're answerable to nobody.
Well, I mean, certainly...
I mean, I literally have it.
Certainly the second part is true, and I think because the second part is true, it behooves them to say the first part, that it's private, and I'd say it's quasi-private, quasi-public. I wrote on my blog, I knew Alan Greenspan in the old days when I represented Ayn Rand, and there was a circle of people around her, one of whom was Alan Greenspan. And he's either gone crazy or reverted to type. I'm not sure which. But on my blog, there's an article. If somebody scrolls down far enough, they'll find it. And it's entitled From Objectivist, which is her philosophy that he purported to subscribe to, From Objectivist to Statist. And now, of course, as you may know, he's repudiated her entire influence on his ideas. We wrote a piece for a magazine she had, my wife and I, on conscription, on the draft, and then in the next issue, there was one by Alan, which was entitled Gold and Economic Freedom. You really want to have a laugh, go find that and read it. And,
do you have it on your site?
I may have a link to it, but if you put in gold in Google, Gold and Economic Freedom, and Alan Greenspan, I think you'll find it.
Okay.
It's not like the same guy. It's like he came out of a Chinese POW camp after having been brainwashed.
Interesting.
But that's yet another discussion. But coming back to the gold clause, it can be a very, very useful device, and as you probably know from talking to Ed, pardon me, it was created as a result of what the government did after the Civil War. You see, Lincoln ran out of money to fight, real money, to fight the Civil War. So they said, where are we going to get some more money? We've got to pay these uniform guys, and we've got to pay these musket guys, and buy all these horses and whatever, gunpowder, and we need money. Well, we don't have it, and we can't get it. So I'll tell you what, let's print some, right? And what color do you think they were on one side? They were green. And in my course, by the way, I talk about this having to do with repudiation of contracts. Greenbacks were printed to finance the Civil War, and they were made, quote, legal tender for all debts, public and private, quote.